Words are about to be spoken on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, presented to you by the ad-free shows and podcast heat networks. I'm John Alba. That's the broken one, the woken one, the spoken one himself, Mr. Matt Hardy. What's going on, good brother?
Oh, just hanging out here. It's a beautiful day. It is my youngest baby, my only girl, Evermore Hardy. It is Eevee's birthday officially today, and she is 3 years old, and I cannot believe it. It just seems like she was born yesterday. It's crazy how fast that time flies.
So does that make her the gothic toddler now?
Maybe. I think for branding purposes, we're probably going to stick with Gothic Baby for a while,
Okay.
but we'll see. I don't know. I mean, we've been Hardy Boys now for 26 years, so who knows? We might be able to drag that Gothic Baby branding out a little bit.
That's fair. That's fair. I saw the video that Rebecca posted of her where people are like, oh, Gothic Baby, she's being used for content. And then it was the video of Eevee just being like, show me on the TV. I want to see me on the TV.
That's her thing. In the TV. I want to watch me in the TV. She hit me with it this morning. She does it all the time. She said, I want to watch me in the TV. And usually she'll get it. She woke up and got downstairs. I was doing cardio this morning. I watched about the first half of Dynamite from Wednesday. And then she comes down there and she's like, Dad, I want to watch me in the TV. And I go, of course, it's your birthday. Whatever you want, princess. So then she got to watch her in the TV, and she likes it rewound a few times. She's very, very proud of that. She's very proud of. Sometimes she'll do it still, and I always sell for it real big.
Yeah, you're missing the special effects, but that's okay. It works out nonetheless. Man, 3 years, that's pretty wild, because I remember when I pitched the show to you, you called me very late at night because you were up with the baby. And I mean, she was still like a baby at that point. And now just seeing how much she's grown. I mean, how does that feel as a dad, man, seeing the kids grow up like this before your eyes?
I mean, it's a very proud moment to see your kid grow and learn how to converse and, have an adult conversation in some capacities. Like, it's great how I can do that with Maxwell now. We can talk about things in a little more depth. I mean, he's not obviously a teenager, but he kind of understands the scenario of kind of like what is going on generally in life. But just to think that they're a baby and they know nothing and they are so innocent and fragile, and then they get older and they develop their own personality. That's one thing about our kids. I feel like they all have such unique and different personalities, which is so cool. But just to watch them grow and kind of grow into themselves and become aware of what they are and what life is about is something that makes you really proud. It's also something in some ways that is sad, because you think about them as a baby and they need you for everything because they're so helpless and fragile. And there is a point in time when they're an absolute baby that is crawling around and needs you for every single thing. As they get older, they, are kind of a lot more independent and they can kind of do their own things. Like if Maxwell's up, or even Woofy now, if they're up, they can make their own breakfast. They can make their own food and they're fine. They really don't need me. They can kind of function. And that's also nice because I don't have to be with them 24/7 and do every single thing for them.
Right.
But it's also too, it's just them becoming adults. And it really does make you proud as a parent, and once again, it's just, what's very important to me is that we try and keep that bond and we always stay tight, especially as people change and evolve. You know what, Eevee? Go put on a dress and you can come in here. Okay? Okay. Thank you, baby.
Like just right there. Now. You had a little conversation there.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's okay. And she gets it now.
There you go. It's not just words. We're still working on the counting, but that's okay.
I'm still working on the counting. I don't know where she got it from. There's a lot of people, most of the boys, they would go, 1, 2, 3, go, or whatever. But she just says 3, 7, 8, go. Every time she'll get on there's stairs so that she can climb up and get on the sink. She'll say, Dad, watch me. I'm going to delete. I'm going to delete. She puts that W in where the L is. And then she'll go 3, 7, 8, delete, and jump off. And she'll do it over and over. It's crazy.
Well, she is 3 now. So happy birthday to the Gothic Baby.
Thank you.
Oh, boy. You talked about being the Hardy Boys. Well, you get to be the Hardy Boys this weekend at 90s Wrestling Con. I can't believe we're already here, July 13th. Tickets just $60 for a combined dual show. It's a Hardy party, a night with the Hardys at ACX1 Studios at the Pier at Caesars in Atlantic City at 90s Wrestling Con. What are people in store for on this fine Saturday, Matt?
Oh, it is going to be a very, very fun and fine Saturday. It is going to be absolutely maravilloso. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be marvelous because myself and Jeff, we're going to be there from about 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. We're going to be signing autographs. We're going to be meeting, greeting, and deleting. And then at 6 p.m., myself and John, we are going to take the stage and we are going to be doing a live Extreme Life of Matt Hardy podcast, and we're going to be talking all about the Attitude Era. It's going to be very fun. It's going to be very interactive. I'm going to share some great stories that I've never spoke about before. It's going to be a really good time. And then when we're finished with that event, then Jeff is going to crank up the music. He's going to start singing. He's got his guitar player there. He's going to be having an acoustic concert, and Jeff does a lot of entertaining in between the songs, and he is working on that, and he puts a lot of pride in his work and his effort into making that more entertaining. So it's going to be a very fun night all the way around. These nights where you're able to catch a live podcast and a concert by Jeff Hardy, it is a show that you do not want to miss.
Yeah, we're really excited for this. It's the first time we're ever doing it. HardyBoysLive.com is where you can get your tickets. That's HARDYBOYZ live.com, HardyBoysLive.com. Tickets are $60 for both events combined. So you're getting two events for the price of one, which is really awesome. And Matt, the forecast is not looking great for that day. It's going to be a rainy Saturday, which means you come inside, you come hang with the Hardy Boys, you come hang with me. We're going to be at this awesome pier. I don't think you've ever been to the pier over in Atlantic City. So you're going to get a chance to see that for the first time. It's really cool. There's some great restaurants there in the area too. So I'm so freaking excited for this. HardyBoysLive.com, Saturday, July 13th at 6 p.m. as part of 90s Wrestling Con. Check out 90s Wrestling Con as well. There's going to be a lot of great names there. Easy is going to be doing a show today, Friday, as this drops. Jonathan Coachman's doing a show too. So it should be a really good time, all things considered.
Bill Apter just texted me last night and told me he had a show that was going on there. He said, "Hey, can I get you to be part of mine?" I said, "If we're not signing," I said, I'm not opposed to it, brother." Bill Apter takes a lot of pride. He was the first one to interview Maxwell when he was first on TV. And that's so funny. He takes a lot of pride in that, and I love that.
It's like a running bit at this point. I've met Bill Apter probably 5 or 6 times. I've talked to him many other times, and he forgets my name every single time. and it's a running bit. I think he knows who I am, but he always, I crack up because him and George Napolitano. Are you familiar with George, photographer?
Absolutely. I've known those guys forever.
George and Bill look a lot alike. Okay. They look a lot alike.
Oh, yeah? You think so?
Oh, a lot of people think this. Yes. Okay. They look a lot alike. And this is such a funny story. I will spare this person's name. But at the AEW event that you had the trios match with Sting in the press conference, it's in Orlando. I'm there sitting next to Sean Ross Sapp. And there's an individual who's young, fresh out of college, maybe even still in college, and he's getting a chance to be part of this media event for the first time. He's really grateful for it. And before the event starts, he just goes, "Hey, guys, I just want to say," and this was like really nice and classy of him. He's just like, "I just want to say how much of a privilege it is to be here, with all these great wrestling media figures, Sean, John, Bill," and he motions over as if he's pointing to Bill Apter, but it was George Napolitano. And all of us are just like, okay. And no one said anything. So I'm pretty sure that individual to this day thinks that Bill Apter was at that press conference with him. Bill was not there, Matt. He was not.
I love it. George gave him the same reaction that I do when the mirror Jeff. It happens to us all the time. We're in public and someone sees it. They go, "Oh my God." They'll look at me. "Oh my God, Jeff Hardy, I love you, man." We just go, "Thank you." Jeff does the same thing. They go, "Matt Hardy, I love that leg drop, man." And Jeff goes, "Thanks." There's no use in even trying to correction. Just carry on about your day.
I'm waiting for someone to take a picture with you and be like, "Look at this picture I got with Jeff. It was awesome." Yeah. That's good stuff. Good stuff. You mentioned AEW. They did a big freaking angle at the end of Dynamite, headed into All In, with Mariah May winning the Owen against Willow Nightingale in what I thought was a pretty damn good match. And then followed up by turning on Tony and bloodying her. I mean, absolutely mutilating her. If you turn the clocks back here on the Extreme Life, you'll recall back in November, I said that I thought they had something really unique with Mariah Matt, and that the introduction they gave for her was very different than some of the others they had done for other talent. And now we see the payoff of this. What do you think of this big angle?
I thought it was great. I really did. And I compliment AEW on going there. And I love the violence. I love the viciousness, because it made it mean so much more in so many ways. That she was so violent. She was like a killer whenever she decided to flip the script on Toni Storm. So I was all about that. You know, I had Mariah May winning the deal right from the jump. And I thought it was very cool that they pulled the trigger there, because you could tell they were about to pull the trigger soon. But I thought the way they did the angle was excellent, and kudos for AEW for doing it that way.
There's a lot of, again, there is storytelling going on here, and there's
the Mariah May, the Mariah May story with Toni Storm is great, and I am a fan of it. I'm a fan of what they did. I'm a fan of how they changed gears and went real vicious and real violent, and now it can get dark and serious and personal.
Well, on a more subtle detail of it, what item did she use to brutalize her, aside from the belt?
The shoe. The shoe in the heel, the high heel of the shoe, which is something that Toni says over and over.
Watch for the shoe, and Toni didn't watch for the shoe.
Yeah, and no, that was all good. And I will say, even the other match that was the final of the Owen Hart tournament, which ended up being Hangman versus Bryan Danielson, that was a match which I would have guessed initially going in that they were going to do Hangman Swerve again at All In. But I thought it was very cool that Bryan Danielson won. I was all about that. I thought that felt kind of unpredictable. And, you know, it's cool. I loved, because from a storytelling aspect, Hangman has been so good these couple weeks that he's been back. And the fact that he is so angry and so furious, he's just apoplectic in life, right? In every single thing. And especially he is obsessive over Swerve and this championship. And the fact that he didn't get the opportunity, I think motivates him to be even worse and just sends his character on more of a downward spiral in some ways. So I dug that he told the Elite no right from the jump, but then he agreed to team with them just following this loss. So it's interesting. And I know you just said you could see something where he ends up being in that match, and I could see that working as well. But I did think Bryan Danielson winning was a good call and something that felt unpredictable in AEW. And I think unpredictability is always good.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Hangman cuts a deal with the devil here. I'll help you out on your blood and guts team, but if we win, I won in the match, or whatever it is, something of that nature. Maybe that's how they end up playing it out under those circumstances. But if not, regardless, you know, Danielson's on the back end here of this home stretch for his final major run. So appreciate Bryan Danielson. You know, I think he's a true GOAT, one of the greatest performers and wrestlers of all time. I mean, what do you think about Danielson in the grand scheme of things?
I mean, he's extremely special. I mean, I remember Bryan Danielson when he got hired as a developmental talent, you know, at WWE, and then they ended up cutting him there. And then I feel like they hired him back, and then they did the NXT angle, right, where he choked Justin Roberts with the tire. He got fired again. Just his resilience, you know, as far as being someone who is extremely talented and extremely good and has this off the grid work rate, and just his wrestling ability is just out of this world. He just really believed in himself, and he truly bet on himself, and he continued pushing forward, and he ended up acquiring the status that he deserved, which is one of the all-time greats. And yes, I do think when it all goes down, when it comes to actual pure wrestlers and also entertainment, I think he became an entertaining guy. The stuff they did with him and Kane and the anger management stuff, that is what really got Bryan Danielson's character over. So, you know, kudos to WWE for getting into that. When he was doing the whole yes thing in its infancy and in the very beginning, like, that stuff was so over, and WWE rolled with it. They changed the whole WrestleMania plans because this guy got over so organically on his own. So yeah, man, props to Bryan Danielson. He's someone I dig. I like him as a person and a performer, and I've got a lot of respect for him. And he is one of the GOATs when it comes to pro wrestling.
And you talk about someone who's completely selfless, almost selfless to a fault sometimes. Maybe he's almost too generous to some people and putting people over, and he is one of the best. So let's see how this last run ends up settling out for him. But I hope it is a great one. Concerning former AEW talent, Your boy Ethan Page won the NXT Championship this past weekend at NXT Heatwave, and they had a really unique finish. I thought it was a really exciting finish, one that allowed him to own that sneaky, smarmy heel character, mantra and aura as he snuck away with the NXT Championship. Javon Evans, one of those North Carolina boys, the North Kakalaki boys,
Yeah.
he ends up showing out big in this match. What do you think about your boy Ethan Page coming away with the NXT Championship?
Super proud of Ethan for believing in himself. Once again, he could have signed a contract with AEW, but I think he realized Tony already had a perception of what Ethan Page was going to be, of what Ethan Page's ceiling was, what he could possibly do. And Ethan didn't just settle for a payday. He wanted to go somewhere where he could still bust his ass and grind away and become a champion and continue to elevate his status. And for that, I have huge respect for him. And we had a conversation about this before. And I said, yeah, man, I think you're doing the right thing, because I have always seen great talent. All right, go to mama. Have mama put it on. Okay. And then come right back. She can get happy birthday if she puts a dress on. And then and then when it comes to Ethan Page, man, like, we talked about this, and I am so glad that he did bet on himself, because I feel like Ethan is a strong wrestler. He's a great performer. He has a great mind for telling stories in the match, and he's very good at incorporating character stuff and like the story that you're telling in the big scheme of things into the match and into the context of the match. So yeah, I was very happy he went there. I was happy he bet on himself, and he took a risk where he could have just got guaranteed money for 3 or 4 years, whatever the deal was. But he took a risk and he rolled the dice and he went to WWE and he bet on himself, and it paid off. Very happy for him, man. I've been a big advocate of Ethan Page, and that isn't going to change anytime in the near future. So I hope he just continues to get opportunity. He kills it. Oh, perfect. We're going to do it. I hope he kills it. And then at NXT, whenever his run is all said and done, he gets an opportunity on Raw or SmackDown, because I think he can do great and excel on those shows.
All right, let's see it here. We got the birthday girl.
Come on, birthday girl. You ready?
Look at her. Let's see. Look at that dress.
Look at that dress. It's a Snow White. Snow White, right?
Hi, Eevee.
You ready, Eevee? Say hi.
Hi.
All right, everybody at Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Here we go. We're going to sing Happy Birthday in 3, 2, 1. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ever. Happy birthday to you. Yay. How old are you, Eevee? 3. You are 3 and big. You are 3 going on 21, and it's terrifying.
Oh my.
I love you. Are you my big girl?
Oh, is she going to join the conversation here? What's that?
Oh my God. Do you want these for a second? Here, we'll do this real quick. All right. Since it's your birthday.
Hi, Eevee.
No.
Hi.
Here. What do you want to say? What do you want to say to all your adoring fans?
My sister's mama.
Oh, okay. Who is the Gothic baby?
Me.
Do people love to watch you as the Gothic baby?
Yeah.
Do you love to watch yourself in the TV?
Yeah.
What do you like to do best what do you like to watch when you're in the TV?
And my paw.
Powers. Yeah. How do they go? You ready? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
Perfect.
Eevee, can you give us a delete before you leave?
Delete.
Yeah.
Wow. You're so good at that.
You are the best. All right. Don't hit
Happy
that.
birthday,
It's too
Eevee.
loud. All right. Say thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Here. You ready, Eevee? Give me a kiss. Big kiss. You ready? Mwah.
Oh,
All right. Here we go.
She wipes it off.
He does often.
She is cut from her mother's cloth, if I've ever seen it.
Well, she certainly is. Thank you,
that
baby.
was awesome.
All right. Okay. Hey, go check on your brothers. Okay.
Oh, my
Make
goodness.
sure your brothers aren't fighting. All right. I'm gonna finish up. You got to go outside. Okay. Go outside. Mama wants you. Mama needs you. Go to mama. Go to mama. Thank you, baby. Bye.
Oh man.
All right. I'll see you in a little bit. Okay. Bye. Don't be sad. Oh, now she's giving me the boo. She's going whining. Once again,
man.
Tailored after her mother.
Manipulated her dada for attention.
She knows how to do it.
Okay, there you go. Well, that's great. Happy birthday to her. You want to mention too, Joe Hendry again, the big win on NXT.
Yeah, man. Also the Rascals. I thought that was
Rascals,
cool
yeah.
for them, man. Like just being around them the last few weeks, that I've been doing TNA stuff. We're a little over 3 months right now, and just interacting with them, and they both kind of shared how inspired all three of them were from the Hardy Boys, which is very cool. And they remind me in some ways of Private Party. They guys who took a lot of inspiration from Jeff and I when we were coming up and we were making a name for ourselves, and we were kind of breaking barriers and breaking new ground when it comes to tag team wrestling. So that's very cool. I was very happy to see them get that moment, and they reunited, and there's some cool stuff, coming up in the crossover between NXT and TNA when it comes to that, and the Rascals and the no quarter catch club, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Crew. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Crew. There we go. I'm learning these guys. The no quarters catch crew.
They were marking out over you at TNA.
It was cool, man. That's one of the things that is kind of neat and fun when you're the older veteran that you were kind of in a spot that you were able to influence generations, that would follow you. And it's cool that we had that opportunity, and there are guys that come up and they are super respectful, and it's cool that they're able to meet and interact with us. And I mean, I get it, because these are the ways I felt, when I got to work with the Undertaker. I thought it was the coolest thing ever, and I tried to, it was different at that time. You couldn't really act that way. You had to kind of contain that as opposed to letting it out. But it is cool when you meet the guys that you grew up watching that were your guys, and you get to interact with them and know them on a personal level. So that's been really cool.
All right, buddy. Well, we have a bunch of fan questions to get to with this edition of Ask Matt on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. But before we can, you know what I got to ask for. Please hit us with that Matt fact.
Matt fact: Matt is partial to breakfast spots with avocado.
I think you're partial to any restaurant or anything with avocado, aren't you?
Maybe, especially, and I just got that. So this morning I was up early. I was up at 6:45 or 7, and I got my workout knocked out and done. And there's a little breakfast spot in Vass that had opened up, which Vass is 5 miles from here, so it's real close. We've got a couple little restaurants and a Subway and a couple other places over there we can get food from. And I just saw they had breakfast, and I was able to get breakfast in time. But I asked even if they had avocado just for omelets and whatnot. I'm such a big avocado mark. I think it is so good when you put avocado in with some, sausage or turkey, chorizo, whatever it may be. And they didn't, but it just always makes me want to eat at a place that has avocado whenever I'm eating an omelet in the morning, or even if it's not an omelet, if it's just something that is a breakfast food. A breakfast dish. I feel like just avocado makes everything better.
Yeah, I ain't doing the omelet stuff, but I will tell you this, right? Here's a good snack. A little avocado, a little salt, a little powdered garlic, and some sriracha.
Okay.
Put that all together. You're going to be, it's good fats to have.
Yeah. Avocado has the best fats.
Yeah. So that and salmon/trout skin, the omega fats, not the omega promotion. But let's get into it, Matt. Here we go. We got some good questions this week. And I appreciate everyone. If you're not following the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy on socials, you got to at Matt Hardy Pod, Matt Hardy Brand. There's so many good ones. You can get your questions in next time we do this. Here's a great question from Ian. And we've talked about this event, but never from this angle. I'd love to hear your honest thoughts on this. It says, as great as your WrestleMania 33 moment was, so of course we're talking your return in Orlando here.
Right.
What do you think about the fact that it took away what looked like on paper for Enzo and Cass to win the tag titles that night before they added you and Jeff? They were super over at that point, and they never really recovered from not winning that match.
That's a solid question for sure. So I didn't know those guys going into the match, so that kind of automatically didn't make me as emotionally invested in them as I would have been if they'd been some other team, because I didn't know them personally, right? But then I met them when we got there. They were excited to have us in the match, because once again, they were guys who grew up watching Jeff and I. So they were excited. The Good Brothers were excited. Sheamus, Claudio, they were, I think they were just hoping they were going to win in some capacity. But I feel like, and Enzo has told me this, he said, like, as hot as we were, and actually Big Bill did as well, Cass did as well. They said, as hot as we were, we feel like that was one of the greatest moments in our career because we got to see the Hardys come out and we got to see this like once in a lifetime reaction. And we were part of that match, you know, and you guys won. So we were just very honored. That was like one of the coolest moments of our career. And they both said that. So yes, I think it would have been cool if they would have won. It would have been very good and very beneficial for them because they were hot at that time. And they're everything when they would come out and do the shtick, it was super over. We worked with them in Europe and we saw it live night after night after night. But at the end of the day, I wasn't thinking about them. I didn't know about them. I was just excited for us to be returning and being in such a good spot. And as I've said many, many times, and I'll say for the rest of my existence until the day I'm in the ground, I'm very grateful for that moment at WrestleMania 33.
We know both of them had their own personal things that they went through. Why do you think they weren't long for a run in WWE? Because they kind of checked off the sports entertainment boxes to a T, I feel like.
They did. They totally did. And they're, once again, I think they're a success of the NXT promotion that was going on at that point because they really got over, they got established there, and it was able to, they were able to transfer all that momentum that they had to the WWE main roster, and it continued to get over, and they continued to thrive and do well. They were always one of the most over acts whenever they would come out and perform. I feel like as time went on, that probably personally they went in different directions, and you see that happen with tag teams. At some time they kind of go in different directions where they have different goals, they have different aspirations, and they want to do different things. And as far as being tension or like heat between them, I don't know if that was the case. I know there were times where they would argue, they would be on different pages, obviously, as most tag team partners do. Hell, myself and Jeff, we have that, you know, and pretty often where we see things differently, but like we have the same goal at the end of the day. We want to like cement our legacy and make sure that we go down as one of the greatest of all time. That's what we want in the big scheme of things. But as far as Cass and Enzo, I think Enzo was doing his thing. He was wanting to work a lot and do this. And I think Cass kind of wanted to explore a career on his own, see what he could do as a guy with good size, who was talented, and just see how far he could advance as a singles guy. That would probably be my guess without knowing the absolute facts of the situation.
More than fair. Let's go to Melanie now, and I'm going to expand on her question here. She said thoughts on the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. I'll expand it to both Money in the Bank winners and matches. Chelsea Green, perhaps a little homage to Matt Hardy in her own way. I thought she was fantastic in this. The two winners were the ones you and I both picked, Drew McIntyre, Tiffany Stratton. What do you think of those?
I thought they were both very good picks. We picked them, and I think it made sense. And sometimes I feel like it's the case in these Money in the Bank matches. I think Drew made sense, especially from the storyline perspective. And we knew it was going to go one or two ways, right? Either he was going to cash in and he was going to win the title, or he's going to attempt to cash in and then CM Punk was going to screw him over again. And they ended up doing it that day, and they stacked it up to almost probably try and maximize the meaning behind it, I guess. Like, oh, he won Money in the Bank, and now he's going to go ahead and try and get the world title back that he, got screwed out of because Money in the Bank cashed in on him, and he went to do it. And then obviously you have the CM Punk factor. So I thought that was good, and it was good in advancing the CM Punk Drew McIntyre story. And then the Tiffany Stratton winning, I think that made sense. It was cool because she seems new. She's an upstart. She's got a lot of potential. I think she's got a pretty high ceiling from her athletic ability, especially. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do and if they pull the trigger with her. And I would almost guess, because Drew didn't win, I would almost guess they do pull the trigger with Tiffany Stratton.
What do you think of Chelsea Green?
That was incredible. I did get to watch that, and it was done so well, and it was like a half twist, went backward, totally committed. Fear is only a 4-letter word. That's what that was saying to me. So props to her for doing that, pulling that off so perfectly.
They paid off her character's fear of heights too with that. So that was great. I mean, she is, if Matt Cardona is Mr. Sports Entertainment, she is Mrs. Sports Entertainment. There's no doubting that. She gets it, and I hope she gets a nice little push around this. And
a very good example also of, like, it's not how many times you win or how many times you lose. It's how you do each of them is what keeps you over and what keeps you relevant. Because if you lose and you're put in situations where you can win in the course of that loss, you can still continue to get over and be a bigger deal.
Certainly. So we have another
It's
cameo
me
here.
again.
He said, "It's me again." What do you want? Another happy birthday? You want another one?
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Eevee. Happy birthday to you. Okay, now you good? Ooh, Whoopi called you. Whoopi just said Eevee. You better go see if he's okay. Because Whoopi's very dramatic too. Go check on Whoopi. Tell him it's going to be okay.
So good. So good. Oh, boy. All right. Good advice from you, though, nonetheless. John Den, what are the odds Omega Wrestling will make a return to the Carolinas? You got some more free time now, Matt.
Never say never. That's one thing I learned a long time ago. There were times I think in my mind I would say like I'll never do that, but I've just learned not to like close doors on something that you're not aware of where they're going to be or how they're going to change or how they're going to evolve or how you're going to change down the road. So never say never. And who knows? Yeah, if there is more time, you could possibly see some Omega events pop up, especially in this area.
You know, speaking of Omega and birthdays, rumor has it this week is Hurricane's 50th.
Tomorrow, yeah, tomorrow. Well, it's on the 12th. That is his birthday.
So as the day this is released. So
Whoopi not call me.
Oh, Whoopi didn't call you? Maybe it's because I had my headphones on. I thought she was calling. I thought he was saying Eevee. You sure?
No.
Maybe it was Maxwell. See if it was Maxwell or Barty.
I think we're going to be playing a game here.
All right, here we go. We'll just do it on the fly. What's the next question? There's
now we got another one. Well, I was going to ask you if you wanted to say anything about Hurricane's very old birthday.
Yeah, he a few weeks, a couple months ahead of me. He turns the big 50. So happy birthday to Shane Hurricane Helms, one of my besties for sure. Be careful, do not spill that. And I just want to say congratulations on reaching 5 decades, and I'll be following shortly behind you.
Summer nights are on my radio, Matt Hardy. I've been binging old school Sammy Hagar, Van Halen, because I am going to see Sammy Hagar perform Van Halen songs in New Jersey at the end of this month, and I picked up my tickets with Game Time. It was one of the easiest processes that I've ever had with my ticket buying experience because Game Time makes getting tickets for concerts and events faster and easier. Even if you don't buy tickets right away, prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer you get to the start of the show with killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying concert tickets. Matt, you've got a very busy schedule. You're not always able to plan out if you can actually go to a concert or go to an event, can you?
No, it is tough to sometimes. And I know now my next 7 or 8 weekends are booked. But I tell you, whenever I do find a good concert and it's on a weekday and I am free, if I am getting tickets for it, Game Time is where I start.
That's because they got their last minute deals where you can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. And you save even more with their exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event or the concert, whatever it may be. With their zone deals, you save even more than that when you choose a section and you let Game Time choose the actual seats itself. And you know they're very transparent because you toggle on that all-in pricing feature. And it's going to show you the entire total up front. And Matt Hardy, we love transparency here at the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, don't we?
We absolutely do. And they're the most transparent people you could possibly get your tickets from. Game Time, it is one and done. They let you know everything in advance. And they're very upfront. They're very transparent. And we do love that here.
And they got the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code HARDY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code HARDY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Now, happy birthday, Shane. Hope it's a great one. Shane's doing amazing work.
All right, guys. Bye-bye. Get out of here.
We are falling apart here.
All right, let's go. Out, Marty, out. Marty, you can't hide. Go out.
Let's keep rolling here.
All right, go out. Bye. Bye-bye. Go ahead, keep rolling.
Hayden, when Brock Lesnar threw you through the wall, were you injured in any sort of way? And how strong is Brock Lesnar?
Brock is a monster. He is someone that I remember like just talking about things or moves, and he was so scary because he's like so strong and so fast, so explosive, so sudden. Barty, get out of here. Now. Get out. Close the door. They make dad start disciplining them.
Oh,
so Brock is one of the guys I remember just when I first touched him, like as we were doing something. And I said, I think we could reverse a twist of fate like this. And I grabbed him and I was like scooping around and I had him hooked here and he was going to slide his arm through and scoop me up for like an F5. And I said, here, we can do it. And like I said, this would be the motion I would use. And like without me kicking or jumping or like lightening my body weight in any capacity, he like scooped me up like fast as hell, like boom. And I was like, oh shit. It's just like when you feel someone like that, how real they are and how explosive, how sudden they are. And Brock, out of all the guys I've ever worked with, and I've worked with a lot of guys that are like great athletes. I mean, Kurt Angle, Shelton Benjamin, you could feel that in him. Moose too, like is a great athlete who I've just recently worked with. But like Brock Lesnar by far felt like the most dangerous physical specimen I've ever interacted with when it comes to like doing pro wrestling. So yes, he is crazy. He is scary, powerful. And whenever he put me through the wall, that was super easy, very entertainment-y. And they had a wall built, like I think there was a door there and then they like put plaster over both sides and then just made it so I could get pushed through the door, whatever the case was. And it was super easy. It ended up being fun. And it's funny because it was a very fun spot and it fit the Brock Lesnar and the Matt Hardy V1 character very well at that time.
Speaking of great athletes, John Cena announcing that 2025 will be his last year in wrestling and he'll be retiring in December of 2025. Someone that we've done a great episode on. If you haven't checked it out, it's in our archives, extremehardy.com. What do you think about Big Match John's retirement?
I think John retiring is probably a good call for him because I think he wants to move forward and do more things on the Hollywood front and in the acting front and whatnot. And I think he, by kind of setting a timetable on it, like 2025 over the course of that year is when he's going to do his retirement and when he's going to finish up. I think he'll have a run of very interesting matches, very interesting feuds, and there'll be people that he'll elevate along that path and they'll make it emotional. They'll find a way to tie into the storytelling where it seems real emotional and you're going to miss him and it's going to be, you're going to bereave him whenever he's gone. But I think over the course of that time, he'll do great. I think he'll elevate people. He'll get people emotionally connected to him and his journey and what he's doing. And then I think he'll leave WWE and then you'll still see him back as a figure on TV interacting, but not wrestling as much. And he will fully focus everything on Hollywood and acting.
Do you think Cena should win number 17 and break the record?
I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that at all. I mean, I think he is such a WWE loyalist. Like I wouldn't mind that. I mean, he would be a great guy to get that honor because when you look back at him and it's all said and done, he spent his entire career at WWE and for WWE. And he really is one of the more loyal employees that has ever worked at WWE. So yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all. I didn't hate that.
I think it'd be a great idea if his last match was for 17. So because he doesn't need a run. I don't think there's much that you benefit from a championship run with Cena at this juncture, but him going for the title in his retirement match. And if he wins it, he retires as a 17-time champion and then the title's vacant. Or if he loses, he puts over someone in his last match. I think it's a win-win either way you go with that.
I do think I think there is something that could be valuable from a run with John Cena. I just think if people get so emotionally, if they get so emotionally connected to him in this journey, like, oh my God, we don't want it to be over. We don't want to be over. And he gets into like a title match. I feel like he could win. And then you have a month. He doesn't need a long reign, obviously.
Sure.
You give him a month where he has this, it's like, oh my God, John Cena, we're getting the best of John Cena. And then you have him put over someone clean. And make them, and they're beating this legend, the GOAT, who has had more reigns than anybody else. I think there could be something to that of value.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't won a lot of matches. I I could be wrong. I'm doing this off the top of my
No,
head. But
and you're right, because he has been more focused on building new talent, putting people over.
I could be wrong. So this might not be accurate, but I don't think he's won a TV singles match in like 6 years, maybe something like that. When it's in comparison to what he was prior to that, what LOL Cena wins, right? It's pretty wild to see how that has changed over time. But nonetheless, hey, kudos to John. And
once again, I will say this. I dare to say that is something that someone who is more of a diehard wrestling fan like you, that comes to mind with them. I think a casual fan, they just think about Cena in his totality and that he's one of the greatest of all times. They don't even think about that he hasn't won in years a singles match on TV. So it wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, sure. We have another cameo there.
Close the door.
All right, let's get a good one here from B13 Nerdcast of Randomness. He says, when will you guys do an episode on our Olympic hero, Kurt Angle? How about we do one in December when his birthday is?
There you go. Maybe we'll do one in December when his birthday is. Yeah. That is according to my host here, John.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. You'd have a lot to say about Kurt.
Yeah, no, I'd totally be down with doing a Kurt Angle episode, and I'm sure we will. I mean, we will definitely get there without a doubt. Kurt, one of the most amazing performers, one guy who picked up pro wrestling faster than anybody else, legitimately one of the greatest to ever do it. So yeah, we will definitely have an episode on Kurt Angle before it's all said and done.
Yeah, I'm all about it. Marcus Young, I think the broken Matt Hardy character would fit well in the Judgment Day. If the opportunity presents itself, would you consider joining Judgment Day?
Yeah, once again, never say never. And who knows, the broken Matt Hardy character is actually kind of evolving. Some people have noticed how I kind of go in and out of the voice of broken Matt or the voice of the more authentic Matt Hardy. So it is changing some, and it is definitely evolving. I think it is time to do this evolution. So yeah, who knows? The Judgment Day, they've got a cool gig going. So yeah, that'd be something that would be fun.
Could be looking for a new leader soon. We'll find out. Ben Edward Joseph Ward, 3 first names. Pretty cool. You mentioned on past episodes about the more TLC matches you do, the more you try to apply more logic into them. Well, I was wondering, while watching the recent Money in the Bank matches in both the men's and women's, they create a ladder bridge from the ropes to the ladder. And I'm thinking as a viewer, what's the purpose? Can you help me out on that?
Those things are hard to justify. And if you're a viewer and you're saying that, like I don't fault you. The purpose of that is to try and be different and try and be entertaining. And I think the secret to those, whenever something is built like that, whenever a structure is formed like that or forged like that, I think how you get there, if you can do it in a sensible way where it seems like as a viewer at home, if they're watching, like, why would they do that? If you can make that make sense, I feel like that makes everything all the more better. I'm pretty critical of putting together a ladder match and doing things like that, where it seems like you're doing excess work where you could actually be climbing up to get the title. And like, if you climb up a ladder and you don't try and get the title and it's underneath the title or the championship or whatever is hanging, whatever the prize of the match is, I feel like that's not the best psychology. So I try and really stay away from those moments. If I'm climbing a ladder in the middle of the ring, I'm going for a win. The purpose of those structures, are to try and be entertaining or to try and be different and like show you something that you haven't seen in the past and try and differ themselves and stand out from any past ladder matches.
But I love thinking about wrestling in those terms of the why. And I think with stuff like that, it would make more sense if they set up the bridge and then immediately try to use it. Like you're inflicting harm on your opponent by setting it up. But what does end up happening is it's set up and then not used again until the big spot. And if you at least come up with a reason to have that set up, then you can revisit that later in the match because it's there by happenstance.
Correct. I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you can create those structures and make it make sense while you're doing it in that moment, in the present, then that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Good question. I love stuff that's in the weeds like that. Zach takes, if you could bring back one thing, let's rephrase this. If you could bring one thing back from the territory days of wrestling, what would it be?
If you could bring one thing back from the territory days, I would say there would be so many different promotions that you could go make an actual living at, and you can work in one for a couple years, and then once you've ran out of opponents and rivalries, and you need someone new, then you go to another territory and do it. And it's just that feeling isn't around as it is right now. You know, there's a couple big companies, and there's a couple smaller companies underneath that and whatnot, and you still can change places and hop around companies to a degree. But I think the coolest thing about the territories back in the day, you had 10, 12 different places where you could go work at. And then you exhaust all your options as far as opponents and rivalries in one and tag partners, whatever it may be. And then once you finish up, then you just pack up and you go to another territory and you have 2 more years.
I think that's a great answer. Great question, too. Chandler, Matt, what was one program you worked face or heel where you think the script would have worked better if it was flipped as a single tag or manager?
That's an interesting question. And one thing that stands out to me that I think I'm going to answer this with is whenever I worked with Zach Gowen as Matt Hardy version 1. So that initially started off right as me being a heel and just being a total dick to him, making fun of him and whatnot. Matt has more legs than Zach Gowen. I think that was a matter of fact at one point. But then there were times where we worked on the road, and especially in Canada. I remember Canada being especially bad, where I was getting cheered and he was kind of half-ass getting booed, which was very weird. And Michael Hayes actually observed this. Like Michael, and I've talked about this here before, Michael pitched, like he said, I think if this guy was a heel and he acted like he was a big shot and do that, you know, he thought it would have worked if he was a heel manager of someone. And I think it was the reactions we were getting that way was because it almost felt uncomfortable with me getting heat on him or doing those things. And it was just so different. And having a guy with one leg bouncing around, it was almost uncomfortable for the audience to sometimes get behind him or support him. And maybe it was because there was just such a difference physically, whatever it may be. But there were times in those matches where they would cheer for me. And a couple of times during the matches, we did things where he would be coming back and they would boo and I would cut him down and they would cheer, which was wild. I think in if I had to do this again, I think I would have said, hey, like, you know, Michael had this one idea about you and about being a heel. Let's try this. Let's start like this and let's try this and let's try and have you cheat and do something to me and let me come back and like, let's see how it goes. That's the first thing that comes to mind because just the crowd was kind of going in that direction. So it was a really unique situation and very strange.
Good answer. I like that one a lot. Let's go to longtime Extreme Life fan, top guy, Bryan. A lot of wrestlers, as their career continues, always seem to evolve their wrestling style as a performer. When do you make that change? Do you just know it's time, or does it take a character change?
I mean, I think character changes have to happen as well, and I think you do adjust your style. I mean, I've adjusted mine where I don't flip and fly anywhere near as much as I used to, obviously. So I've changed it on that front. And then once again, I think there's been so many times over the course of my 30 plus year career where I've done so many different moves. I'll try and cycle stuff in. And Jeff and we actually just talked recently about doing a whole bunch of different new tag team moves. And I think that's going to be something that'll be cool going forward too. I just think it's always like, you're always trying to update yourself. You're always trying to like freshen yourself up and make your act feel new and feel fresh.
Well, that's also because your skills have deteriorated so much as you approach 50.
Of course. Yeah.
You just have to, you know,
physically, mentally,
yeah,
spiritually, emotionally.
Yeah, absolutely. Austin always asks good questions. Thanks for this one, Austin. Favorite Royal Rumble event, overall show that you've been part of in your career? So not necessarily just the Rumble match itself, but is there a Rumble pay-per-view that stands out to you that you've been part of?
The two Rumbles that stand out the most to me is when I had my really good run in 03.
That's
Matt Hardy V1, I think.
That's with Benoit and Angle as the championship match on that show.
Yeah. And then also the Royal Rumble where I turned on Jeff and we set up for our WrestleMania match where like I helped Adam Adam win the match, and smash Jeff with a chair. That's still, I hear about that moment all the time. Like people say, "Oh my God, I was so mad at you. I was so mad at you." Like that moment was very impactful, and definitely a lot of people were emotionally involved and connected into that moment.
Yeah. Maybe if you had been at the 05 Rumble, that would have been your favorite, when Vince tore both of his quads coming to the ring.
Oh boy. I'll never forget watching that, and just like, upon hearing the story, I mean, that was just the way he acted was such a Vince response, right? He was sitting there, but he was no selling it with his face and just get him, and like nobody was allowed to see him for months after that. You just couldn't see him because he didn't want anybody to see him in that weakened state.
That weakened state. My goodness. Jesus. It's just. Let's see here. I'm scrolling through again. We got a lot of other ones that came in here. All right, Ashley asking, how did the Fear Factor protein shake taste? Was it as bad as Joe made it out to be? I think this is because this clip, for some reason, went viral again this week. If you haven't had a chance, Matt and I did a full watch along of the Fear Factor episode in our archives, and you need to go check it out. But if I'm not mistaken, you were just kind of brought up on that old country cooking, weren't you?
I was, yeah. It was my dad cooked for myself and Jeff, so we were kind of we were used to eating nasty shit, right? So the shake, whenever it started, I was trying to down it just as fast as I possibly could, and it wasn't terrible. There was bits and pieces of it that were bad, but there was one point where I had so much going down at one time, like I almost gagged, and then the taste kind of kicked in a little bit, but then I was able to like man up and like overpower that and mentally get through it. So it was bad, but it wasn't absolutely terrible. It was bad, but it wasn't absolutely terrible, and that was me. And I am someone who's a pretty nasty son of a gun at the end of the day.
As your wife is in there, I'm curious if she heard.
Oh yeah, I mean she would vouch for that for sure. When it comes to eating things, I'm pretty nasty, huh?
Let's take a look at your track record.
Oh my God, that may or may not have picked up.
There you go. Elizabeth asking. Elizabeth asking, what is one song that you can't get enough of right now?
One song that I can't get enough of right now. I think there's two songs. The song most recently that Rebby heard it initially from a TikTok video, which a lot of stuff goes viral in there, and she'll end up downloading the song. And it was called Psycho, and it's by Jack Kittle. And it says, "You think I'm psycho, don't you, mama?" And I really, like, my dream at this point is to do a music video and have either Woofy or Barty be the psycho in the video, where he's like doing all these crazy things and dreaming he kills people and goes nuts and does all this stuff to his family. But it's very funny. It's like a very old school country song. And then the other song that is more new, which is an old song I like back in the day, and Barty sings it to me all the time now, is "I'm Afraid of Americans" by Dave Bowie. He's big into that song. So those are the two songs right now that get played the most whenever I'm in a car, especially probably with the kids.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. John asking, can you tell us how it feels to be the only person that can slap a tornado?
It's unique. I mean, I'm the version 1 of myself, so no one else can. Versions 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so on and so on and so on cannot. So it is very unique, and it's interesting how much that line had gotten over and just kind of hangs in the back of people's minds whenever they think about Matt Hardy version 1, the Sensei of Mattitude, that he can slap a tornado. And I love that I have been gifted that power.
Speaking of powers here, K_Fleming. What could the next cross entertainment platform be that we will see with wrestling and a genre of books or films? This is me adding editorially here. There really is so much crossover with like superheroes and all that stuff. But where could you see pro wrestling getting intertwined with in the future?
I mean, I think pro wrestling is just like, I think it fits with like comics and comic book characters kind of hand in glove in some ways. Like, I would love to see more comic book series, more comic book kind of like inspired from pro wrestling. And you kind of, hype these pro wrestlers up a little more, and you could maybe even dress them up with some superpowers, kind of whatever their strengths are in the ring. We kind of exponentially increase those, and they kind of become their superpowers in the comics or whatnot. I would love to see more comics and wrestling crossover.
One from Smile Mark here, and I'm interested what you have to say, because you've talked at length about how you always feel that Edge and Christian were the best tag team that you guys had chemistry with in the ring, but he wants to know, singles wrestler, who do you feel you had the best chemistry with?
I think as a singles wrestler, I had the best chemistry with Rey Mysterio.
Okay.
I wrestled Rey so many times, and it was just always easy. We were always on the same page. You can tell, like, when you have a great chemistry with someone, it's just like you guys are kind of always on the same page. And just Rey was so easy. Rey understood how to sell. He got it. Like he shined when he would sell, right? Especially when he was younger. Because if you could stop him good and have him down, the crowd would be waiting for him to come back and like do all this cool Rey Mysterio stuff. So it made it real easy. And Rey was like, he was innovative. He was real good at coming up with ways to like get into your stuff or have you get into his stuff. And I enjoyed the shit out of working with Rey Mysterio. And I was glad I got to work with him many, many times over the course of a few years. Maybe
one day you'll get to work with Dirty Dom. Who knows? Could happen.
I would like to get that. That's a father-son combo. I definitely want to cross off my bucket list.
Very important question from Justin here. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
He would chuck enough to give him enough energy to get throughout the day.
Okay.
That's how many calories of wood he would need.
And then he burns it off with more than cardio.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, couple more, and then we'll wrap things up here on the Extreme Life. Great questions, guys. Michael, name your best matches from each promotion. So we'll stick with the major promotions here, okay? What you feel are your best matches in each of them. So let's start with WWE. Singles, tag, whatever, your best match.
That's a real tough question. Especially because my WWE library is just so massive. Anyway, it's a tough question. It's like being asked which one of your kids is your favorite. It's hard to be biased.
Well, I'm not asking for your favorite. I'm asking for what you think was your best, that you performed best in, that the story was told best in, the action was best in. What do you think was the best? Yes,
and still the same answer goes for that as well. Not even being my favorite, what is necessarily the best. In a lot of ways, when it comes to singles matches, I think myself and Jeff from WrestleMania 25 is one of my favorites, just because we also got cut for time and we were calling stuff on the fly out there. We had to chop some stuff out, which Jeff had even spoke about that he was angry and upset about it, and that was just like a very special match to us. So that stands out. Myself and Edge in the cage is a match that I think was a big deal, especially from a storyline perspective. It was really good and ended with that big moment of dropping the leg off the top of the cage and getting the 1, 2, 3. So that was a big deal. And then even looking back, I think that the tag team ladder match at No Mercy is just such a huge deal. And it was one of our greatest matches ever because it's what put us on the map when it was all said and done. So a lot of times when people ask me to say, like, what is my favorite match or the most impactful or most influential match in my career, a lot of times I say that match, the No Mercy 99 ladder match.
TLC 2 is your best match. Anyway, continuing. TNA.
With TNA, I would say the Final Deletion is what the best match was there, because it was so different and it just like opened up so many career options for us. Because without the Final Deletion, we don't end up going back to WWE with that huge return that we had. So sure. The Final Deletion was us thinking out of the box. It was us willing to take a risk. It was us willing to roll the dice and see if we could make something pay off, and fortunately did.
What about ROH?
ROH. I've had some real sneaky good matches in ROH too, which is
got to be ladder war, right?
That's the first thing that comes to mind is like the ladder war match. And then when we're talking about singles, I had a great singles with Jay Briscoe. For the title, I had a great singles with Kevin Steen and a no DQ kind of anything goes match, which I enjoyed a whole lot. And even the match where we showed up and beat the Bucks, I dug that match so much just because it was just such a legit surprise, which is so rare in wrestling these days. But yeah, at the end of the day, I would say the ladder wars.
And then what about AEW?
AEW, I think my favorite match I did there was the Stadium Stampede, just being part of that. It was at such a weird time when we were like at the peak of the pandemic. And I know it's just like the Bucks, it just got cleared to like get out of California and come back. It was just such a weird time. And we felt like we were doing something that had never been done before in so many ways, because like, nobody really knew how truly dangerous COVID was at that time, so there was a lot of unknowns about everything. So just being able to go out there and pull this off and create that magic, and we shot it over the course of the night before, and we were like rushing to get that done too. So I would probably say overall that was my favorite segment or match that I was involved in. Also, there was the match where Orange Cassidy and I had where he did the deal where, I'm trying to think if that's the one where he busted my nose or not. I think it is. Yeah. The one where he gave me the crossbody and it busted my nose open real bad. That match was one of my favorites there that I did against him. I think that's a real underrated match.
I think your best match in AEW, like work rate wise and story wise, is your Hangman Page match on pay-per-view. That's my favorite of yours. Yep. And I thought you were great in that match. I thought Hangman was awesome in that match. And the story payoff with Dark Order at the end of that was awesome. Like, just if you're watching it from a pure fan perspective, you're pretty pumped up at the end of that match, seeing Dark Order come through for Hangman. So
it was good. And two, we probably see these things a little different.
Sure.
I almost see them as opposed to from a work rate perspective. I almost just think of like Total Impact, and how influential that match ended up being to
sure.
my career.
Sure. And I thought you did a lot for Hangman too in that match. That's why I really like that. So
yeah, I enjoyed working with Hangman. He's great, and it was just an absolute pleasure to work with him the whole while.
Let's get one more question in here from Russell. Thoughts on Michael Cole apologizing for what they were about to show us when you had that broken match versus Bray?
It was annoying. It was very aggravating and frustrating, and I knew that came from Vince. That was absolutely a Vince line fed in, where he was just trying to like cover his ass in case there was a lot of backlash from it or whatever. But it's one of those things where I knew once they kind of suggested that to the audience, they were trying to cover their ass in case it's something that didn't seem like it was up to WWE standards, I guess. But it also kind of put us behind the 8 ball right from the jump in doing it. So I thought it was very counterproductive. I think it would have been better if they wanted to make that kind of comment, just say it the week after, if there was repercussion or backlash or whatever. I felt like give us the fairest opportunity to go out and do our thing and let it be as greatly received as it can possibly be. I felt like it was just very counterproductive.
Why do you think Vince was so apprehensive?
Because it wasn't a Vince thing. It wasn't a Vince creation. And I had gotten it over so much that it almost had to happen. And, I had pushed for it and Bray had pushed for it. And like, whenever they heard we were going to be at the Hardy compound, the people went nuts. But because it wasn't a Vince creation, much like a WCW, it's not something that he was going to probably fully get behind.
So would you say they almost doomed it from the start?
I wouldn't go as far as say doomed it from the start, but I would say it was counterproductive. I just for the people that actually knew what we were doing, they were like, "Oh, come on, man, you shouldn't have done that." And for like newer fans, they're like, "Huh, why are they saying that? Is this not going to be good?" And it probably set a really weird vibe for a lot of people that were just tuning in and watching what this was that hadn't seen it, on the TNA level, that this was new to this cinematic style match from the Hardy compound. So I felt like it was counterproductive because once again, we're doing it at the WWE. It's a concept that we got over at TNA, but now it's a WWE thing. It's like WWE, it's still a WWE thing, even though it's not Vince's creation. It's a WWE thing. We're trying to push it and promote it with WWE. So like, why be counterproductive if it is something you own? Like I would have made WCW seem as great as it could possibly be because now you own WCW and like that makes the rivalry even better as opposed to trying to minimize it. But I think that's just like a Vince quality and a Vince ego thing. It wasn't his creation. So he is not going to invest as much in it as he would something that is truly his, that he feels like he can bet the farm on.
That'd be a bummer too, because I know you and Bray were both pretty proud of that match.
Yeah. I mean, it was. It just, I mean, like doomed is too strong of a word. I would just say it was counterproductive.
Sure. Good stuff, man. Great questions from everyone out there in Extreme Life Land. Really, really appreciate that.
Yes, guys.
We will do more of these. We continue to do more of these. Make sure you subscribe, Matt Hardy Brand on YouTube, where we post clips on all these great questions throughout the course of the week. And make sure you check us out over at ACX1 Studios at the Pier at Caesars in Atlantic City as part of 90s Wrestling Con, A Night with the Hardys, which is going down July 13th. That is this Saturday at 6 p.m. Tickets $60 at HardyBoysLive.com. First half of the show is a Matt Hardy podcast. Second half of the show is a Jeff Hardy concert. While we were on air, Matt, I even got a text about another show that we're apparently doing and didn't even hear anything about. So we'll talk about that off air, you and I. But I'm very excited because that means there are people who want to bring the Hardy Party to their neck of the woods. So we will hit all the territories.
There you have it. I do know that Tony has been working with people to try and get these. What's that?
He's shopping it.
He has been shopping it and putting it out there. And there's been 2 or 3 people that I know have expressed interest in having another night with the Hardys. So make sure you're part of history. If you're anywhere near Atlantic City, New Jersey, be there. This is the first ever Hardy Party, A Night with the Hardys, where myself and John, we do a live Extreme Life of Matt Hardy podcast stage show. And then Jeff is doing a live concert. And it's going to be a great night of entertainment, and you do not want to miss it.
And of course, head on over to advertisewithhardy.com. Promote your business to the extreme by getting it out in front of thousands of listeners and viewers every single week. Great episode this week, Matt. Anything else you want to add?
No, man. Just excited for this weekend. Excited for the takeover of New Jersey. It's going to be a great, great time. Once again, we're signing at the 90s Wrestling Con Saturday morning to the afternoon. We're doing a live podcast. We're doing a live concert that night, the Hardy Boys in action. And then on Sunday, myself and Jeff, we're heading to Lafayette, New Jersey, and we are going to be signing starting at 11 a.m. at Pandora's Box. And make sure to get there early, because we have to catch a flight home that night. And I know we're going to be staying for overtime already. So everybody get there early and get in line if you're at Pandora's Box. Last time we were there, we weren't even able to finish the entire signing because so many people showed up. So get there early, be in line early.
With that said, the words have been spoken. We'll see you next time right here on The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy.
Delete!
SaveWithConrad.com.
My name is Doug Gustafson, and we are from Columbus, Ohio. First learned of Conrad through his podcast network. I'm a big 83 Weeks fan. Probably got into a little bit more credit card debt than what we wanted to during the course of the pandemic. We wanted to get rid of some of that. My wife and I had luckily bought the house many years ago and had quite a bit of equity built up in it. We are looking to actually redo our bathroom, things around the house that we wanted to do with the other equity that we have left over. We've been talking about refinancing forever, and I finally just took the plunge and called the number, got a hold of him, and from start to finish, it was just fantastic. I had Diane within the day. The communication with her was fantastic. The process moved quicker than I could have ever hoped. My name's Doug Gustafson from Columbus, Ohio. I ended up saving $800 a month with Save with Conrad, and am able to also update our bathroom.
NMLS number 32416, equal housing lender, SaveWithConrad.com.